Today, we've had a national tragedy. In an apparent terrorist attack on our country, 2 airplanes have crashed into the World Trade Center.
You know how sometimes you just don't want to get out of bed?
Yep.
That was me today. Everything okay?
Yep.
There's no one who has not been affected by this.
Jeffrey, what's going on?
I don't have a clue.
Is anybody there? Can anybody hear me? Guys, we got 32 elevators off the grid. All the upper floors are gone. Hello? Anybody hear me?
Methy, it's Eddie.
Baby, you're not gonna believe this.
Hello? Oh, Mom! Where the hell are you? We're still in the North Tower.
Can you please have her call my wife? Me too?
Mom, listen to me. Hello?
People that were stuck on the elevators. At that point, you're pretty much in your own coffin. You just happen to be sharing it.
I think we're under attack. The explosion you felt was from the South Tower.
When something tragic happens, your heart and your soul latch on to what really matters.
You don't know me. I'm calling you for your husband. He wanted you to know that he loves you.
It's a story about really honoring those that didn't make it.
You gotta get out of this building now!
And those that did.
Help! My husband's stuck in the elevator.
That was a very powerful trailer. I feel like as a New Yorker, we all sort of have that connection to this event. Where were you when this event had happened?
I had left the day before, and I lived downtown very close, like 8 blocks away. And I remember all my windows were open. I was late. I was going to the Toronto Film Festival. And I remember looking at my windows, thinking, what's going to happen in 4 days? You know, I'm like, I just left them open. And I went to Toronto, and it was the morning of doing press, and we had kind of a big party the night before. I was watching, kind of bleary-eyed, trying to wake up to do press, and I kept thinking, like, why is Independence Day playing on CNN? Like, I just I kept thinking, is this a movie? And then
It looked like a horror movie, absolutely.
yeah, I was a little bit out of it. I was just waking up, and then when the second plane hit, I just my stomach dropped, and I just thought, oh my God, we're under attack, and it was so surreal. I kept waiting for like Superman or someone to fly in and like save the day. It was just like my head couldn't wrap around it, and then by the time I got to the elevators, there was all this press, and I literally couldn't speak.
Yeah.
I was just, I just didn't know what to do, and it was pretty horrible.
Yeah. When were you able to make it back to your apartment and get back into the city?
Well, I tried to get back right away, and they wouldn't allow any planes to come back into the city. We tried to maybe drive back. No one was allowed. I called my neighbor. I said, just go to my house and just close the windows at least, and I figured my place was destroyed. But I got a plane out. I was one of the lucky people. Danny DeVito, of all people, had a plane. And I don't know why his plane could get out. And he said, why don't you just come? And I went to L.A. And that's when I really knew I was a real New Yorker. Because, I was home and my family was there. And everyone kept saying, aren't you glad you're here? Yeah. And I kept thinking, oh, I have to get back. Like, I needed to get back and to help and to get in there. And so it was about 5 or 6 days until they let me through. Maybe it was a week. But I was just stuck. I couldn't do anything, but I just wanted to get back.
Yeah, absolutely. And when did this script and when did this project come to you?
This came to me probably, I guess, a year and a half ago. And I read it at first, they told me what it was about, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if it's too soon but it was based on a play by Patrick Carson called Elevator, where it was is really taken from the point of view where the people were stuck in the elevator and had really no idea what was going on. And then just as I read it, I just thought, I don't know, I thought so many different things. I mean, as detaching myself, I just thought, wow, this is a really interesting, like, human story where people are just trying to survive and trying to help each other in a horrible situation, which they aren't even aware of what's going on. But and I just kept thinking, God, can you imagine? And there's so many people who, I mean, you talk about it, but unless you live through it and, like, we're down there, like anything, it doesn't really hit you. And I just thought, well, this is an interesting, different viewpoint of it, of people actually going through it. And, the guys at Ladder 8, which is like the firehouse, which is the first responders, and they're like my neighbors, I see those guys. I just thought everyone was so brave. I felt it just kind of paid homage to all of those heroes and the people who made it, the people who didn't make it. And I don't know, for some reason I thought maybe it was cathartic to do, and it kind of wasn't. I still felt really terrible afterwards. I just, you watch it and you're just like, it's just, it doesn't go away. It was just bad.
I'm sure it was a very emotionally charged set. What was it like to be on that set?
It was really interesting because even though in your head you're acting, some of those scenes, I literally felt like I was going to throw up afterwards. I was so panicky, and I started having all that anxiety that I had when I came back. And, I went down to Ground Zero and I was helping out, and it just the smell. I mean, everything about it was just horrible.
Yeah.
And being on the set, it was a lot more intense than I think I realized it was going to be.
Yeah, and sharing it with a great cast, though. I mean, Charlie Sheen, you guys had worked together before. I mean, what was it like doing this work with him?
Yeah. Charlie is so good in the film, and I think because of 2.5 Men, 5.5,
Add a couple men, exactly.
in the room, 2.5 Men. I mean, everyone thinks of him as his comedic chops, and then his crazy life that on his nutty time that he's gone through. And I think people forget what a great actor he is. I always think about Charlie from Platoon and Wall Street.
Exactly.
And he was really great. I remember thinking, oh yeah, this is doing a dramatic part. He was really terrific to work with.
Yeah, he brought that gravitas to it.
He's just really good.
Yeah.
He's solid.
And Luis Guzman, he's incredible. He's so hilarious, and it's really required in a film like this. I mean, what was it like working with him?
Yeah. Well, Luis, I know and I love, and I've worked with him before. And, he lost some friends we talked about, because he's a New Yorker. And, he connected to it in the same way as a New York, as a real proper New Yorker. And, it was everyone had their stories and what they related to. So, I mean, I love him. I could watch anything he does.
Yeah. Was he at least cracking a few people up during this set? Did he help to have somebody like that around?
We every now and then when we'd be like doing a shot all in the elevator and it was like really tense, you almost had to lighten things up sometimes just to stay weirdly focused so you can go back to it.
I think Saturday Night Live did so well. I mean, that humor is cathartic in a moment like that when we sort of like remember that we're human and we can move on, and that's really important to bring to a film like that.
Yeah, it was interesting though because I had experienced it from the outside, going, oh my God, but the story is based on true stories about people who were really stuck inside of there, and for a while they just didn't know. And then when you hear what's going on, you're just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Like, wait, you don't even really comprehend it because it's the first time we as Americans really, like on our land here, dealt with it, just at least in my lifetime, it was just, we were kind of innocent in a way. So it just felt like, oh, this happens somewhere else, and all of a sudden it was like, in my backyard. Yeah. It was in my neighborhood, and just, it was pretty terrible. But people were so, brave and so courageous and helping everyone. I mean, that's what I love about New Yorkers so much. Although, you see it now in Houston, what's been going on. I think when real, tragedy or when bad things happen like this, people are great. Their humanity comes out, and their impulse and their instinct to help people is a really wonderful thing.
Absolutely. And it must have been, you've been fairly busy the past couple of years, and you've been doing a lot of comedies as well, so I'm sure it was, going from that to this was pretty intense. But I want to talk about some of the other projects as well. I mean, tell me about, Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Crash. I mean, what's it like to jump from something like that into something like this and then get to have that cathartic go back to a comedy?
I think at the beginning of the year when I did 9/11, I hadn't taken a break, but I was definitely not around. I was writing a lot, and I was living in Europe a bit, and I hadn't been acting as, continually as I usually do. So when I first came back, I did a couple of very serious pieces, and I don't know, maybe it was my state of mind or what personal things I was going through, or just my natural inclination. I just started getting into comedies because I really like doing comedy. I love doing serious things, but I wanted to explore. Once I started comedy, I've been having such a good time with it.
Yeah.
And it's all, and even in comedy, I think the funniest stuff comes out of like tragic moments, and then they become really funny.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, tell me about the Brooklyn Nine-Nine cast. I mean, it's such a great
Brooklyn
crew.
Nine-Nine is really fun. I mean, I did 3 of them last year, and I just did another one. I might do a few more. And, I've been a fan of Andy's for a really long time. That was super fun. Crashing was like a dream gig just because...
with Artie Lang.
With Artie Lang and Pete Holmes, and, Judd Apatow always puts together such a great, vibe on the set. And it's really improv. It's kind of like when I did Curb Your Enthusiasm. It's there, and you have the script, but then you could really go nuts, which is my kind of favorite thing to do. And then I just finished a really funny movie called The Pact with Leslie Mann and Ike Birkenholtz and John Cena. And it's really, Kay Cannon wrote it and did it. And it was really funny and cute. So I enjoyed that.
What's it like to come out as the villain in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where people you come out as the crooked cop, and I'm sure people hated you. You put them away in jail, and
it was funny. They deserve to go to jail. I mean, I don't know. No one's really said anything to me about it. Yeah.
All the hate's just living on the internet, I guess.
Is it?
Yeah,
I never
exactly.
check that stuff. I'm way too sensitive. I start to cry.
Oh, no. You mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's coming back. Obviously, I have to ask what it's like to work with Larry David on those sets. I mean, please.
It's the best. Yeah. I mean, that's just the best. It's so fun. They're so good. There's literally no script, and they just hand you a little piece of paper that says, this is what you come into the room, and this is what you do. It's like, all right, and he's so good, and, everyone's so great. Jeff Garland. I mean, everyone's, like, such great, improvisers. Is that the right word to say it?
Absolutely.
Improvisers,
absolutely.
Yeah,
that
improvisers.
works.
Sometimes it's good to have a script. But, so you feel free just to go nuts. And it's a great, great set. And I was so psyched when they asked me to do it. And then I was really excited when they asked me to keep coming back and doing the same character. So that was
great.
Fun.
Did you have a favorite bit of improv that happened to be a favorite scene with you and Larry that you enjoyed?
Oof. I remember one day, for some reason, we were, just off screen, we were talking about cats. Because I think I started writing my pussy
As you
book.
do with Larry David.
Well, I was writing a book about my cat called, How I Found My Pussy and Lost My Mind, and we got on the whole subject.
Great title. Buy that book, people, if you don't have
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, it's based on a true story about my lost cat. And for some reason, we got on the topic of cats. And so we got into such a thing. So when we got on the set, we got into a whole thing about, like, cat urine, and can you get this out? And, like, we just riffed on that. And we were so excited. And it went on. And we're like, that was great. Of course, the next day, they're like, okay, like, we literally can't use any of that. You have to come back. Yeah. You guys kind of went off on a roll. But I was really fun. I'm like, yeah, it's just me and Larry,
it's worth it.
Playing along, like having fun. And I mean, I love him. That was really fun.
I'd like to talk a little bit about, when your career started, what you foresaw. Did you foresee the comedy or the drama? What sort of drew you to acting?
It's funny, my family, especially my mother, she was always saying, I don't know why you're not doing comedy. Like, you're supposed to be doing comedy. She kept saying, you're really funny, this and that. But of course, when I started out, I just wanted to do like the most serious. You know, I'd seen Francis, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I wanted to do, you know, Chekhov. I wanted to do the Greek tragedies. I was really drawn to this darker, heavier, really dramatic. But I do think like comedy is kind of my natural inclination. You know, sometimes you have to go this way. I mean, at the end of the day, it's two different sides, you know, the same coin. You know, you could flip it. It just depends on the subject matter. Because I think even, you know, it's good to have both. It makes the other one more intense.
You've had such a tremendous career. I mean, what do you get approached about the most? What do people call out to you on the street here in New York?
Oh my God. You know, it's so diverse. You could really tell. I'm almost trying to be able to tell, like, you know.
Before they even say a word.
Yeah, the different like demographics. You know, some people I could tell when they're going to mention, you know, one movie, the other another movie. Some don't even know the movie and they just know music. And they're just like, well, we don't really care about the movies. Like, what about this song? And then some, when I was doing writing, it's really weird. It's like I'm like 3 different people or 5 different people, because then they don't really care about anything else, and they're into the book and they want to ask questions about that, and they don't really know any of. They're like, oh, you act? Like it's very weird to me, but you know, I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there a movie that you're surprised has held on so long? I mean, something like Showgirls that's been in the conversation still to this day.
Yeah, that's surprising.
Yeah. What was it like to film that? I mean, what was it like to do that movie and be on that set?
Well, I certainly didn't think it would last, you know, a zillion years later, especially since the critics so like lambasted it, and no one could, you know, oh, how could you make this movie, and all these interviews, and yet like these guys are still the same ones who are asking me questions. I'm like, guys, it's like, you know, 59 years later or whatever. It's like, but people are kind of obsessed with it, so that's good, I guess, you know.
And you recently got to work with Nicolas Cage again. You guys did Faceoff together. I mean, what was it like working with somebody like that who you knew sort of early in the career, and then to reconnect with him?
So fun. I mean, we kind of knew each other in high school, like on the periphery.
You guys knew each other in high school?
We were aware of each other in high school, and then when, you know, Faceoff was, you know, John Woo is one of my heroes, and Nicholas was so great in that. I really had a nice time working with him, and the whole set, Travolta, everyone was really good. And then I don't know how many years later, then all of a sudden we were doing Inconceivable last year, and it was great. I mean, you know, we never really see each other, so it was really nice to connect again.
I mean, is there someone in your career, people that in your career that you've stayed in touch with pretty consistently? I mean, I'm sure, like, you know, a film set, you're a family for a couple months, and then you all sort of go your own ways. But there's got to be a few people that you've stayed in touch with.
You know, Jennifer Tilly and I have stayed in touch, just because we had such a bonding experience on Bound. I just really like her. She's just really funny. You know, we play poker together, and she's hysterical. We've kind of stayed in touch. Dennis Leary I've worked with a couple times, but we were friends before, so, you know, we're in touch. You know, it's so funny. It becomes like high school after a while. Like, I go on a set, and there's so many different people that have either been in the crew or acting that you've worked in some sort of capacity. You know, so it's really interesting. It's fun. Yeah.
What's your observation been, you know, from the beginning of your career to now, as far as, you know, female directors, female acting parts? Are you happy with where it's going, where the conversation is going right now?
You know, it really shouldn't even have to be a conversation.
Yeah.
It should just be like, whatever, who's the best
Obviously,
director for this, and, you know, I think when I started out, it was always kind of annoying going, wait a second, I could only go up. There's one female part, and there's like 50 guy parts. That was always kind of frustrating. And so that feels like, you know, more and more female parts are coming back. I think television has helped a lot. Although, you know, females had always been like very strong in television, and in the movies at some point early on, I don't know, I think it's ridiculous that's even a conversation we're supposed
to be in the
having.
headlines.
Yeah.
I feel like in Hollywood Reporters always talking about it, and I'm like, absolutely, it should be the most talented person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, you know, everyone's like, Wonder Woman, and oh my God, this and that. It's like, it was really great, you know? And just don't even say female director, say the director of this film.
Yeah, absolutely. What would you like to do next? Where are you going next, and what kind of projects can we look forward to?
That's a good question.
Your IMDb is always, there's always plenty coming up. So I always like to actually hear what's real.
I know. I have a lot of stuff coming out, I have to say. I kind of threw myself back into the game last year. And so, you know, it would be great. I think, you know, some of these cable TV shows are so amazing. They're like the new independent film. It would be really fun and great to get on a really interesting show. I'd love to create my own show, you know, preferably a comedy. So I'm working on a couple different things. You know, I don't know. I always think, oh, I want to do this. I really want to do a period piece. Like I've always
What
had.
period and what era?
Just, I don't know. I want to play like a really twisted evil queen or something in some weird place, you know. But always, the one thing I've noticed, it's always the thing that comes out of like complete left field is the thing that I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, and we start now, and I love it.
Yeah. Is there someone out there that you still haven't collaborated with that you'd love to collaborate with? Who are some of those names?
Oh my God, there's so many people. Where do I begin?
Pull out the laundry list.
Yeah, I mean, I love the Coen brothers always. I'm really into, oh my God, now I'm going to say his name wrong. Park Walk, someone help me. Who did The Handmaidens? Huh? Old Boy. How do you say his name again? Chan-Woo Park. I know, I always put the park before the thing, because then I like Wong Kar-wai also. I get everyone's names mixed up, even if they're, you know, if they're foreign or American or whatever. Yeah. I'm really bad with names. Gotta work on that. I love Chan-Woo Park.
Yeah.
The Coen brothers. I love Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah. Oh my God, there's so many people.
Yeah, are there any actors
Woody
out
Allen,
there?
I can't believe I haven't worked with him.
Yeah, that's crazy. You're a New Yorker, he's a New Yorker. You guys should
people
be
are
on a
always
set
coming
together.
up to me saying, how come you haven't do that? I'm like, I don't know, ask him.
Absolutely, let's get the word out to Woody Allen people.
Yeah.
Everybody tell Woody Allen about
And
this.
I want to host SNL. That's like my dream gig.
Now, Lorne Michaels and Woody Allen, they're the two we have to go after.
You got to go after. Look at Betty White. She got on Saturday Night Live because everyone kept going, we want her to,
It needs to be like a Twitter campaign. We should start it today.
There was a Twitter campaign at first, or something that I was doing, Orange is the New Black, because people are also in an uproar that I haven't done that. I'm like, I don't know. So they started that. I like SNL.
Yeah,
and,
let's get Gina SNL, something like that.
Yeah,
Hashtag that.
it's
Okay, I like it. We have some questions in the
obvious
audience. So we're gonna go.
Hey, Gina. I know you had a background on stage. I was
Yes.
wondering, since this is based on a play, like, did you use that experience for the movie, or like any other experiences that you draw from?
No, I mean, I thought it was interesting. It felt, I could sometimes tell it felt like a play because it was so much in one room, and I could easily see it translated that way. But, you know, how you approach a character, it's no different to me as a play than as a movie. I mean, sometimes, you know, your body instinctively, you know, you're bigger on the stage just because you're also projecting and everything. But no, I kind of, you know, I approached the part in the same way.
Great. Next question.
Hi.
Hi.
I was just curious, what was the hardest part filming this movie?
Oof. You know, I think the hardest part for me was the scene where I come out at the end and I'm like, not to give anything away, but when I actually am out of the elevator, it's kind of ruining the movie. But I'm seeing the chaos and what's actually going on, and just acting that, and just the shock and horror it was really hard. I mean, I was really in a funk for a while, and just I was so sick. So that was surprisingly difficult.
I can only imagine. Absolutely. One last question.
Hey, Gina.
Hi.
So I know the movie's based on a play, and I don't know if it's based on real people, but did you get to see the play before the movie, and did you get to talk to any of, I know you were already living in the area, did you get to talk to real people that experienced it to like kind of base your character on from the movie?
Well, the movie is based on a play which were based on voice mails, I guess voice, recordings of people who were there, and, you know, they put everything together. I didn't speak to any of those people in particular, but, you know, I was living downtown and I was going into, you know, ground zero and helping, you know, when there were still, you know, bodies being found, and, you know, I was helping out there. So I heard, you know, a lot of stories that, and just, you know, things like that don't leave you, and smells, and it was just, you know, it was bad.
Yeah, can only imagine. Well, the movie comes out in theaters tomorrow. Thank you so much for being here, Gina Gershon.
Thank you so much.